I'm actually just so fucking excited to have this. Like,
Well, then
okay,
you tell me how excited you are.
okay. Oh, I'm Brooke Blurton. Yes. Okay.
Are you?
Yes.
Today you are.
Today I am.
Let's do it.
Brooke Blurton. Okay.
I'm about to fucking die.
We
If you're
didn't
Brooke
actually.
Blurton, I'm Madam Mills.
We told Elise that this would take 30 minutes. It's taken us fucking 2 hours.
Okay, it will. Let's start.
All right.
Professionalism.
Hello and welcome to Not So PG with Maddie and B. I'm Brooke Blurton and my pronouns are she, her.
And I'm Matty Mills. My pronouns are he and him. I'm a very proud Kamilaroi man, but today we're on Gadigal country and I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we're on, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay our respects to elders both past and present.
Aw, thank you, Maddie.
Let's do this, baby.
It is NAIDOC week, one of the best weeks of the year. I'm gonna say that now.
Yeah, 100%. It is a week of immense pride for our community. It doesn't get much bigger than this for, the blackfella community out there. It is a massive, massive week. And you've just landed off the back of the NAIDOC ball. How did that go? What went down? Tell me the goss.
The NAIDOC ball was phenomenal. I had the pleasure of presenting an award with Gail Marbo. So if those who don't know who the Marbo name, well, you should. And you should be doing your research because Eddie Marbo is a really significant man in the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities, especially in the Torres Strait. He was a huge pioneer for education and land title rights. And I presented an award with his daughter.
Oh.
Like that for me is a huge career highlight. And I don't take those things for granted. And I'm like, how did I land? Like, how on earth did I get here? I walked up on stage with her hand in hand, like we'd known each other our whole lives, and presented the Caring for Country Award together. And afterwards, like, I just felt like she was someone that has walked this earth and just knows so much. Anyways, there's so much that I could say about the night. It was basically the Black Logies. Everyone was looking hot. You weren't there.
Okay, way to rub it in. Absolute FOMO. I was prancing around on stage at STC in my play, and every time I would come backstage, I'd check my phone to see the updates from the night. Like I was flicking through socials. Super jealous of everyone being there on that black carpet. Yes, it definitely
Literally.
was a blackout, but everyone looks smoking. I love when I see these events go down on socials because our community turn it out. We look so hot.
We do. Honestly, it was
So
amazing. Also, I'm not just going to it's been a busy week for Brooke.
Oh, well, let me just say something. Talking about hot, speaking of hot, I was at my local newsagent today and I came across this steaming, smoking hot girl on the front of a cover that literally made me question my sexuality.
Oh my God, who?
Oh, I think her name was Brooke Blurton and it was Women's Health magazine.
Woo!
Oh my gosh. Wow. Like,
Your wow is like, I'm dead.
You know what? You're on the front of this magazine. You literally have a parachute behind you. You look smoking. Look at your body. Look at that beautiful smile. I want to cry. I'm so proud.
Stop. I think another highlight of my career, right, is this is the first time that they've had a First Nations woman on the cover of Women's Health in 10 years. Now, as much as that is such a momentous thing and such a highlight, I actually just want to also say that it should have happened sooner. And I'm so proud of myself and proud of, I guess, the progression that's happened. But at the same time, I'm like, we need more representation. That's it. That's my final comment for it. And I'm fucking so stoked that I was able to, because if you read the article, it is a really beautiful article, a little bit of background about myself and, how I got to where we got, how we're starting this podcast.
Oh.
And it's been a big week.
What a beautiful
momentous things.
Yeah, what is like a beautiful cover, but also, it's speaking about your identity and your book as well as the podcast. Like super big things happening in your life.
Yeah.
I mean, you're absolutely killing it. Look, I can't say the same for me. I'm obviously booked and busy, but I mean...
Excuse me? Are you serious right now?
What do you mean?
Big Mob Brekkie.
Oh, that little thing. The whole TV show that I'm hosting for NAIDOC Week. Oh, that little thing.
Yeah. I don't have that much going on. Tell us about Big Mob Brekkie.
Oh, yeah. Big Mob Brekkie. We had our first episode for NAIDOC Week today. And it's an incredible honour to be one of the hosts on this show. It's the first all-Indigenous morning show in this country. It is, a massive thing for our community. And I'm just one of many hosts. It's on NITV and SBS at 7:30 a.m. each morning during NAIDOC Week. So, yeah, make sure you tune in. It's a hoot. We have so many deadly artists, entertainers, and special guests on the show.
How exciting. Look at you, superstar.
Oh, should we tell the listeners how we met? I think it's an interesting story. I'm going to let you kick this off.
Oh, scandalous. Matty and I met in a bar and he came over and he said to me...
All right, well, I'll take over because that is not the honest truth. No, I'm kidding.
I'm kidding, obviously. No, so Matty and I, we met through social media. Originally, I'm like a Matty Stan fan and I'm obsessed with him. And I was like, you know what? I feel like I know this guy, even though I hadn't met him. I had just seen him in his bloody... Aboriginal flag, budgie smugglers. He was looking hot. I thought he was straight, so I thought I could shoot my shot. Next minute,
babe, that's
gay.
Yeah. I don't get that often, but I'll take that as a compliment.
But I was like, who is this sexy guy who, is just flaunting his shit? And then, we kind of just messaged, right, on socials.
Yeah, I think I sent a rose emoji. Is that right?
Probably,
I'm kidding.
Yeah. And then I just moved to Melbourne and you had sort of reached out. I'm giving you the very short version because we could probably talk about it for days, but how we met was through socials and then we caught up in Melbourne and we judged a drag show together.
Yes, that was so much fun. We ended up at the Miss First Nation Drag Show, which is an annual drag competition put on for Indigenous and First Nations drag queens across the country. And we were both judges on a panel for that evening. And I just remember the moment meeting you, we just sort of clicked it off. It was one of those moments where I was like, okay, we are very similar in who we are. And we had this incredible vibe. And then from that moment, we just sort of, became really close and built on our connection. But you know what's so interesting about that night is that you told me a secret that you hadn't told many people. And I'm going to bring this up now because it's one of the biggest moments of your life and you had only met me in person maybe half an hour before. But there was this instant connection and trust between us. So you opened up to me about being the first ever bi-bachelorette, First Nation bachelorette. My jaw was on the ground when you told me that. I just remember being like, what? Yeah, and you hadn't even made your mind up at that point.
No.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, it was surreal. Here I am at the First Nations drag show with you and it just felt surreal. I always love those environments. I always feel like they're my safe place. They're my go-to place, being surrounded by a lot of queer, loving, friendly people. And, we had just connected prior to that. And I had felt like that I'd known you my whole life. And we had very, little communication in person. And I was like, I just feel like I can trust this guy. And I feel like that is an instant, you just know. It's kind of like a matter of friendship,
Mm-hmm.
If you know, you know.
Totally.
And at that same time, I had just been approached about doing the first ever First Nations bisexual bachelorette and I hadn't made my mind up. I hadn't said yes yet. And I was saying to you, I'm considering it. What are your thoughts? And I just felt like you would understand the position that I'm in. We both work in the media. We're both queer and we're both First Nations. So it was who better to ask how this would be translated than you? So I felt like it was the right person, right time, and right environment to lean on someone that I thought, am I making the right decision? If I say yes to this, what would it mean? And I don't regret my decision. I said yes. And, nearly a year later, here we are.
Wow. I mean, you changed the game by doing that. That was a significant moment for both First Nations people and queer people. That was something that had never been done before. When you look back on that moment, do you have a sense of, immense pride?
I do have a lot of pride and a lot of excitement, I guess. that I was able to do that. I had the best experience any bachelorette could ever have in that whole chaos of a world. The post stuff, maybe not so much, but I feel like my experience, I cannot fault. I have lifelong friends out of that experience. I had the most craziest time, but also equally the best time. I just love filming, and I was able to like showcase so much more than that, like I was able to showcase queer love, what that represented, a bit of First Nations culture in there with the welcome to country. It was a surreal moment, Maddie. Like I feel like everything in my life sort of led up to that moment, and then I was able to do that. I can't fault it, but I feel like the post stuff, we'll get into that later.
We will
but
get
bloody
into
hell,
that.
man, it was such a journey, and I hate using the word journey because it's my most hated word because that's what I use the whole time. If anyone out there who's watched The Bachelorette or watched The Bachelor or have been on The Bachelorette or whatever, the word journey gets thrashed. So if there's another word for journey, please insert here.
Yeah, well, you know what? Let's quickly dive into something about the experience that I'm so bummed that I didn't get the opportunity for. But, I was chosen as your final two to help you make the decision on your final two. And I was so excited to be able to help you make that decision. And I know that, I would have had your best interest at heart and backed you 100%. And I know that it would have just been a look from you or, to know which person you were going to choose. But I unfortunately couldn't make it because of COVID. It shut the world down. It shut my suburb down. And a day before, they told me that I wasn't going to be able to come to set and help you choose. I was heartbroken. I'm sure that you were upset.
Oh my God, I was so upset. So a lot of people don't know this, that my original, friends, I guess, who I had chosen specifically to be, my point of reference in that last decision making on The Bachelorette was Maddie and Amy. And I didn't originally choose Abby. And the how it all sort of played out was, and it's no, disrespect to Abby. She was great on it. But I kind of got stuck. What happened was COVID hit and basically kind of stopped me from doing all these awesome dates that I wanted to do as well. Like I had a really beautiful planned date with a guy called Loie who was going to do this like salt drone shot, and it was really, it was about culture, it was about my totem, and it was really, and COVID kind of impacted all these things that had happened, and choosing people that I wanted was really, really hard because I couldn't easily have access to them because COVID kind of put all these border restrictions and all that sort of stuff. I wanted Matty because, he was the first person I told. You're so good at giving good advice. Like, I think you're good at sort of playing devil's advocate as well. Like, you said that there'll be some pressure and the responsibility. You didn't shy away from the details of when I told you. And that's why I wanted you to be my final two. But because of, Sydney restrictions, you were out of the borders and so you couldn't come. And then therefore I had Abby and just Amy, which were great. In hindsight, they were beautiful and, they gave me perspective and but you were my original choice.
Look, I will
admit.
say that it would have been an incredible moment to have 3 Indigenous people on mainstream TV, within that franchise of The Bachelorette to be able to help you.
And all queer as well.
Yeah, and all queer. Like that would have been a moment. But yeah, obviously no diss to Abby, but Amy really made a mark on that show as well. And there was so much incredible press that came out after it based on her questions and based on her insights when she was grilling the final two. So I wish that I could have been there. Obviously couldn't be there. But what I love is that like our experiences now in the media aren't the only things that we have in similar. I think about our childhoods, and we've had incredible conversations about our childhoods and about the inside of how similar they are. And I think that was one of the main reasons why we connected as well. We grew up with very similar upbringings. You grew up on the other side of the country. I grew up on the East Coast. Like I would love, for our listeners to get to know us on that deeper level as well. So like, tell me about where you grew up and what your life was like as a kid, Brooke.
Well, I feel like that's why we started this podcast, right? Is that similar experience. And I am so excited to dive deeper in this because given that I've had this massive platform through this show, it's been other people telling my story, right? It's been other people telling how it is in just simple comments of what I've made in media and interviews. And this is my platform. This is our platform to show people that we are so much more than that. And, you know, you only get a small glimpse of us, like only small 5%, I reckon. And I just want to be able to share it and come from my words, my mouth, and it's the truth. So my childhood wasn't quite non-conventional. I didn't have mum, dad, sister, brother growing up, right? I grew up in foster. I grew up with a mum who had, you know, addiction problems. And basically, you know, I held my family together at a young age, and I was still doing it up until my mother passed away. And it's been hard. Like, I've just written a book.
Yes.
Just a
little plug. Oh, I'm so excited for that book. You've been working so hard on it. Congrats.
I have. And a lot of people don't know how much work has gone into that. And it's about reclamation. It's about reclaiming back my identity and back my sexuality and my culture and saying, this is actually who I am. From what you see on TV and what you see on the outside is not entirely me in its entirety, right? I'm a much more deeper person, a much more deeper thinker, and I have a lot more substance to me than, I guess, just Bachelorette and roses and dating. Like, I've got so much more to give in terms of just talking about, you know, love and experiences. Like, I have a whole career in youth work that I've never ever really spoken about. So, you know, there's so much more to me, but my childhood extends from a lot of navigating life independently, like pretty much by myself. And you can resonate with this, Matty. You've had the similar experience in that, is that I didn't have mum and dad just telling me what was right and what was wrong. I had to basically navigate the whole entirety of my life, just me. And then also guide my brothers into their lives. So I've only just released that pressure of having to look after my brothers. My youngest brother is now 18. He is now a grown adult. And I've released myself of that pressure of making sure that he's okay and he's got everything because, well, now he's an adult and I can let go. So I've been a mother since I was about 9 years old practically. And I think a lot of people don't know that. So this is, you know, why we started the podcast, Not So PG, is about that sort of parental guidance wasn't a thing for us. And, you know, and we kind of want to make it fun. We want people to see the fun side of us and see all the beautiful things that we have to offer, because I feel like there's so much more to us than what media makes out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like...
God, that was a very long-winded question. I'm so sorry.
No, but you know what? Like, there's so much to unpack with that stuff. And I think it's going to be, one, helpful for people for you to reintroduce yourself to the public eye with the honest and truth-telling side of who you are. But also just like touching on, you know, that whole idea of not having parental guidance. You obviously have lost your mum, and when I was very young, I had a very similar experience where I was, you know, told that my dad had died. And I grew up with the belief that my dad had died, and I was put into foster care because of that reason. And because of my mum, she struggled with addiction and domestic violence. And so my brothers and I were put into care system. And when I was in the care system, after a few years, they realized that my dad didn't have a death certificate. So they had found that he was actually alive. And they went on this sort of wild hunt to find this man. My brothers and I, we believed that he was dead. We had a rose in the garden, which was a yellow rose, and we would water it every day. And when we lived with my mum, we moved from house to house, housing commission, and you know, we would take that rose and make little plaques in every garden that we, you know, had at our home. And I just remember thinking when they told me that my dad was alive, that it was a lie, because they had lied to us continuously through the care system about where we were going, who we were going to be with, whether we were going to be together or whether we were going to be split up. So just not trusting the system at all as a young kid. And I remember when they said, you know, we found your dad, he's alive, I thought that in my head they were just going to place us with another Aboriginal man and say that he was our dad. But then when I met my dad, he looked exactly like the photos that I had seen when I was younger, because I only had one memory of him before he left. And it was my dad, and he also struggled with addiction issues. He was, you know, a heavy drinker and drug user, and he was homeless. From that point that he knew that his boys needed him, he pulled his life together and he went and got sober and fought for us for 2 years in the courts in foster care. And then we moved to him back onto country in Tamworth. So, I mean, you know, those experiences that we both have, they're very similar in a way. We've had to sort of figure it out ourselves. And even from that moment, like, you know, moving in with my dad, things weren't easy. It's not like he stayed on the straight and narrow. You know, there was a pretty quick decline, and I had to become the parent, just like you, pretty quickly after that moment. So it's like, I just love that, you know, we're in very similar positions in our lives, and we have very similar experiences. And I'm sure that there's young fellas out there, especially, you know, First Nations kids who probably go through the same thing on a day-to-day basis. And, you know, if they get a chance to listen to this, they know that their future can be by design. It doesn't have to be by default.
100%. Oh, Matty.
I feel like we've had a great love fest between us right now, but let's talk about your love life. What is happening in your love life, Brooke? I want to know. Because you've been quite, I would say, cryptic when it comes to what's happening in your love life. Well, is there anything that's happening in your love life?
Well, if you're going to expose me like that, well, you know, I can't hold back. You know, this is a safe place. And I'm so excited that... Well, I'm not excited that you've asked because there's literally nothing going on in my love life.
I'm excited about this for you, by the way. If you say there's nothing going on, I'm excited for you because that means time for yourself. It's
100%,
like,
I'm booked
you know,
busy.
And like you're booked busy, you're an international diva traveling around the world. Like, come on.
Well, do you know what? I've actually come around different relationships than monogamous relationships. Like I've explored open relationships, I've explored situationships, and then I've explored just being casual, if you want to use that in, you know, quotation.
Are these the new words the kids are using? Because I'm so out of touch. I've been in a monogamous relationship for the last 5 years. So is this... what the kids are using? Situation, what did you say?
Situationship.
Situationship. Yes. Okay. Tell me about that.
Yes. Look, okay, so everyone is so invested in your love life throughout The Bachelor and Bachelorette. And to be fair, like I put myself out there in that, you know, that scenario, in that situation. So The Bachelor, obviously, you know, I dated Nick Cummins on the season, came out of it, was single, and then met my ex-boyfriend Nick, and I was in a relationship for over a year. And then I had practically a year and a half being single and enjoyed it. And I was 2 years not doing any TV or media, like 2019, 2020, I was just focusing on myself and my relationship. And then, you know, they came knocking about The Bachelorette. So I was kind of thrown into this dating world once again. And I was like, oh my God, but it's not real dating, right? It's not
I can imagine.
Real life dating. As much as I would love to sort of say that it's as glamorous as it seems, it's not really. Like it's not normal that you date 20 or 25 or however many people at the same time.
Did you ever feel like you were just like talking to someone for the sake of it in terms of like a date and had no feelings? Like, you know how you meet all the people? I cannot imagine separating my brain into like 20 relationships. One is enough. Like
100%. That is how my brain works. I am like a sort of one-track kind of minded gal when it comes to one person, right? I if I have a crush on someone, I have a crush on someone, and that's the only person. So it is hard to navigate that. And so I've done it all in some way. Like trying to remember, you know, 16 people's names on the first night is a challenge.
You know what? That was always the thing. When I was watching, I was like, are there cue cards that we don't see for the names of the contestants? Because you know what? Like, I'm the worst at names, and it's something that I need to get better at. But when I meet people, I struggle to remember their name. I could never remember 16 or 20 people's names. I would need Osha up the back being like, yep, that's this person. Yep, that's this person.
Could you imagine Osha putting up, yep, here's David. Yeah, here's Matty.
Seriously?
No. So what happened was I just remembered them by their gimmick or what they were wearing. So like Kurt was like white suit. Carissa was blue dress. Holly was red dress dancing. Like that's how I remembered them in that first episode.
You actually have to remember them. You don't have an earpiece.
Yes. Oh, well, you have an earpiece to give you cues, right? To say, make sure that they're in the spot where cameras can capture them. So you kind of have to direct them in the position and they'll kind of give you a cue and do that. But basically it's you're a one-man show when you're up there pretty much. Like a lot of people think that you have an earpiece and just tell you what you should say and what you should do. And it's like, it's 100% not like that. I don't know if other people's experiences have been like that, but mine in particular was basically me directing the whole thing. Anyways, I feel like we should one day unpack that experience in a whole because...
I want a whole episode just on the rose ceremony.
But not so much even throughout that experience. I think post, like what came after it, because I'm finding it really hard, mind you, Matty. Like I wasn't built for the media in per se. Like I had no media training, no media experience. I was just kind of thrown into this crazy world. And here I am with a podcast with my friend and just navigating this crazy second part of my life because I am super self-critical. So seeing so much stuff written about me that was so untrue and everything, I had to really like hone in on relying on my friends and family to be there because it was really hard.
Yeah.
But if you want to go back to dating, my dating life is a little bit bland at the moment. I am sort of back on, going on dates with people and open mind and, having an open mind to it. But I'm finding that
open mind and open soul.
Babe, don't expose me like that. I did go through, I could tell you some dating stories. Like we don't even reference the names, who I go on dates with. We kind of like name them things. So, I'm going to start off by referencing Iron Man here because Iron Man was a thing that I had for about 6 weeks there. And he was Iron Man because he was doing an Iron Man, but my God, he was Anyways, but back to dating. Sorry. I'm trying to keep it. I'm like, it's so funny. I'm trying to keep it PG, but I'm like, you know what? It was the best sex I've ever had in my life.
Yes.
I did cut myself off a little bit there. I had to do some healing, right? Maddie knows this.
Oh, yeah. You steamed your vagina. Do you remember? When you got that stuff from Byron? We went to the Byron markets and she was like on a healing vibe and she's like, I found some herbs that I need to steam in my vagina.
Yes. Yes.
Yoni steaming.
Yoni, baby. Yoni. So
never done it, sorry.
If you didn't know what yoni meant, it means vagina. And I was on this healing journey of my body healing through a really traumatic experience. And I looked at those herbs. I picked them up in Byron Bay and I was like, I'm going to try this. I did it. It was an experience, I must admit. You put these herbs in a bowl and then you basically bottomless, you got no undies on and you just kind of sit over the bowl and steam your yoni.
Do you know if there are any for men?
Yeah, look, I think you could. It's no discrimination. Like it doesn't discriminate. You can steam your balls if you want.
You're like, no.
Could you please? And
like,
let me know how you go. I'll bring
men.
it over to you. I'll deliver it to you when I'm in Sydney next. But it's
Cute.
about healing. It's about reconnecting your genitalia or whatever you would like to reference your bits, and about healing and kind of And I was just trying all alternative healing processes because a lot of people actually don't know, but post-bachelorette, I lost a family member. I was in a public breakup. I, was experiencing homesickness, being away from home and off country. Like there was a lot going on in my life. So I was just looking at any alternative healing that I could do to be a better person and focus on myself and like let on my friends. And that's why me and Maddie were in Byron. Hey, like
I was up there doing a trip, a tourism gig, and I was like, you're going through it at the moment. You need to come up and just like spend the weekend with me, and I'm on a work trip. We'll fly you up and we'll just like have at the time of our lives. So we ended up just in Byron, like very Byron Bay healing vibes. Like
it was beautiful.
Yeah, I had a great time that weekend.
Thanks for exposing my yoni.
Well, look, I just remember walking through the markets and I had lost you and I was like, where did she go? And then I sort of was like trying to find you, and then I walk into this it was like a den of fabric and I was like, oh, where is she? And she was in this like beautiful hidden market stall for herbs for vaginas, and all I could imagine was you having to boil the jug and like put it in a bucket and then like mix the herbs, or is it done like more nicely than that?
Look, I feel like that's also even like equally another episode of all the alternative health things that I've done, because I have done a lot.
Yeah.
And that one was an experience, I must admit. You literally boil the kettle, you put the herbs in the bucket, you pour the water in, you steam basically. So you mix it up and then you sit over it, like you're on your knees and you sit over it with a towel. So then, you know, the steam can't escape. And you just sit there doing your business. Like I was just listening to some, you know, nice tunes in the background, like just sitting.
Sounds really
and
nice.
steaming my
I am
yarn.
actually going to look into it.
Steaming my
Maybe
yarn.
there's some boogala,
Maybe that's
which
our
means
first
balls.
episode thing.
Steaming.
Steam your balls.
You know, like
Love it.
our relationship journeys, let's use the word that you hate, journey, has been so different. Like I've been in a relationship for 5 years.
Yeah, tell me about your relationship, because obviously I know Paul and
Yeah.
I know you guys.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
guess
we
how-
met 5 years ago at Mardi Gras, so it was like, you know, a bit of a fairy tale story of how we met. I was walking to the after party, and I saw these people on the side of the street, and I had just finished a hosting gig. So I was like, you know, working up until I think it was like, I don't know, 10:30 or whatever. And so I was like, okay, I'm done with work. I'm going to go to the party and meet my friends. And I saw these like people on the side of the street sitting in the gutter, and they were like a little bit drunk, and they were on the phone to someone, and they were like, hey, can you help me? I don't know where we are. We're trying to get to the after party. And I was like, yeah, no worries. And they're like, and my friend is on the phone who's trying to meet us here before we go to the after party. And so I was like, okay, no worries. Let me see where your friend's at. Get on the phone. I start talking to this guy who has this really sexy, deep voice. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I was like, oh, hi, I'm Matty. You know, on my way to the party, running to your friends. They want to know, you know, where you are. And he's like, oh, okay, I'm here. And I'm like, okay, so you're only 2 blocks away. And so I started directing him. So I was like the human Siri. I was basically like, you know, Google Maps,
Oh my God,
mapsing
you
my
would be
boyfriend.
the hottest Siri voice if you were like, oh,
Go up 200
that makes me so
meters.
horny just thinking about it. Like, can I just
And,
have that as a suggestion, please?
And then anyway, so I see this guy who's like now within 100 meters of me, and he's on the phone, and I'm like, oh, this is the guy. He has his hat backwards. He has no shirt on. He has like Speedos on. And I'm like, holy motherfucker. He has like an 8-pack. He's this beautiful Greek Lebanese god walking towards me. And I'm like, if this
love
isn't
this.
the guy, I'm gonna fucking die. Anyway, it was him. It ended up being him. We, you know, made eye contact. There was an instant spark. We kissed immediately. And
Oh my
then,
God, gay guys are like that,
yeah,
right?
we
It's
saw each
just
other and we
like-
kissed immediately. And it was like magic
is
sparks,
hot.
boom, like
This is so hot.
like fireworks. And then I was like, okay, gotta go. See you later. And I went to the party, partied all night. Saw him as I was leaving the party at 7:30 a.m., walking out at the exact same time. And
Oh my God, if that's not fake, I don't know what
so
is.
my house where I was living was like a 10-minute walk from the party. So I was like, come back to my house. And he's like, no, but I'll go to coffee. And I was like, okay. Coffee now? Yep, sure. Great. Like I was really into him. And I was like, okay, but I'm just in Speedos. You're just in Speedos. Why don't we walk back to mine? We'll get dressed, put some clothes on, then we'll go to coffee. And he's like, okay.
Fair
Anyway,
call.
yeah.
Imagine, sorry, I can just picture you went straight to coffee at 7:30 in the morning in your Speedos.
But you know what? Like he was so like, I'm not gonna sleep with you at 7:30 a.m. after the after party of Mardi Gras. And I
But
was
you
like,
still shot your shot, and
I shot my shot.
yeah,
Anyway, so
look,
he came back,
kudos
right?
to you.
And the moments that I was like waiting for was like, oh, I'm really tired, you know? Anyway, I was like, let's just lie down. So we ended up lying down. We fell asleep and then laid in bed all day until like 2 p.m.
Laid in bed.
No, I
quotation.
promise, we didn't do anything. We literally slept. And then he woke up and he like nudged me and he's like, hey, is it raining outside? And I was like, no. And I pointed to the corner of my room and it was a fan, just like, I'm like, no, it's just the fan. Go back to sleep. Anyway, so he was like, we have that running joke now that like when it's raining outside, I'm just like, no, it's just the fan, babe. It's just the fan.
That's
but
cute.
yeah, he left and we didn't exchange digits or anything, right? And then he found me on social media and messaged me, but the message went to message requests. So I didn't see it for like a week and I thought, oh gosh, this guy's just left. He was having the same thought. He's like, oh, you know, just another one of those guys. I'm never going to see him again. He has no interest interest in me. Anyway, I found the message in message request like a week later, and I was like, oh my God, he messaged like the day he left, he messaged me. So I messaged him back, and from that moment, we just haven't been, apart. We've been together for 5 years. It hasn't always been easy. We've had our ups and downs, and, we had a break not too long ago, about a year ago, and that was really good for our relationship. I thought it was a really healthy choice for our relationship, but let me tell you, like, in that break, like, I was so...
You sent it, didn't you?
No.
Like...
You know what? In that break, I was so, like, overwhelmed by just, like, what that world would have looked like if we were to stay separated. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was not ready to be dating anyone. I was so, like, overwhelmed by, like, the attention that I was getting while I was single that I was, like, ready to get back in the relationship ASAP. I was like, no, this isn't for me. Being single out here in this crazy world.
Oh, my God. Welcome.
It all sort of worked out for the best. And, 5 years later, and we're still going strong.
I still hope that one day that I'll meet the love of my life at the airport in, like, a moment.
Oh, yeah.
In
the lounge?
Just in a lounge. Actually, when I just went to Bali recently, I did meet a girl. I had to work with her though, and I just was like woman crushing Wednesday every day.
Oh, that must be awful. Like if you fall in love with a colleague.
I know. I was just honestly just looking at her like, oh my God, you are like goals. You are my dream, my wife, and I just like.
Are you someone who falls quickly? I think you are.
Relatively. I feel like previously, I feel like I don't have a Mardi Gras story like you, but my first ever girlfriend I fell in love with the day that I met her.
Yeah.
And we were like that. We were inseparable from the moment,
yeah.
Which I think is really cute. But I really do want to because I've had some really crazy love relationships outside the bachelor world, which have been eye-opening. And, I've done the U-Haul lesbian moment of like moving in basically a month later. And I've done the really like intense relationships. I've done the slow burn relationships. I've dated men, I've dated women, I've dated non-binaries. Like I've dated quite a bit of people in the short period of my life.
Yeah.
I've only got eyes for one person. I can't do the open
God?
relationship.
No, I'm kidding.
Is that God? Is that you? You are God.
No,
actually.
You know what?
God.
It is NAIDOC week, Brooke, and there could be a challenge.
Oh, there
could be a NAIDOC week challenge. Have you ever dated a black fella?
Do you know what? I haven't. I've never dated a black fella, and because you know what it is, you're so scared that you're
related. Be related to them.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's NAIDOC week. It's get up, stand up, show up. Go on then, show up.
Babe. Calling all black fellas who are not related to the Blurtons.
With that glass slipper.
And the girls. I'm not even going to discriminate. Why don't I go just to boys?
Yeah. Maybe you're on that vibe though, the BDE
I'm on the
vibe.
dick train at the moment.
Yeah.
It seems to be quite hilarious.
But you know what? Like this theme, get up, stand up, show up. What does that like mean to you? Because for me, it's like it's a call to action. It's like for the wider community. It's like, you know what? Our voice still needs to be heard. Our truth still needs to be told. So don't just have these tokenistic moments or performative allyship. It's like, let's all year round fight the good fight and make sure that our voice is being heard. I sound like a politician. Fight the good fight. Like what? Wait, who would say that?
But you sound sexy doing it. I must admit.
You better fight the good fight.
I feel like I've always said, right, throughout my career, throughout my life, is just show up. Whether I didn't want to in that time, whether, I was forced to or, I just kind of had to. I always showed up. And I think that is the message, right? It's just in the face of adversity, at times you're kind of just, you know what, I'm pushing through, I'm getting up, I'm showing up, I'm standing up. I love this theme of this year. I feel like it kind of reflects my life in so many different ways. But you're right, that I don't want people just to be like saying it as a performative thing. And I feel like these days a lot of people are doing that performative allyship, being like, oh, I'm just going to repost a theme page. I'm like, well, what are you doing in your real life to show that?
You know what? This week, every year, I get so many inboxes asking me to do things for them. It can be literally the kindest person on the planet inboxing me, like a lovely old lady, being like, oh, hi, I'm having a tea in my garden on Sunday and I just wanted an Aboriginal person to come by and
dead.
you know, like
Dead.
I'm the most random requests ever, but I'm like literally like it is NAIDOC week and I'm ready for these requests because I'm going to screenshot them this year. So you know what? If you got them, bring them on because I'm going to unpack them on the podcast. Like that.
Yeah, I've got a question for that because like why do people around NAIDOC week, around Reconciliation week, simply feel that is our only week that we should be working? We work every year, every goddamn day of the year, and we only get jobs in that week.
Yeah.
Like we're getting asked to do things in that week, like as if it is.
But you know what I hate is, you know what, I would love you to come into the school and do a acknowledgement of country and play a didgeridoo and throw a boomerang around the backyard. But don't have any money to pay you. So just get your own, use your own fuel, use your own time, use your own effort, and we will pay you with an applause from the children in the classroom. Like, no. No.
This is a thing. I feel like, and a lot of black fellas will definitely, resonate with that, is that, yeah, a lot of, throughout the whole year, it's all kind of quiet, but then those main weeks, you do get call-ups. And, there's a way about it, but I feel like, yeah, the fallback is always like, oh, we just don't have the budget. I'm like, sorry, but I do run a business and I do, you have to pay me for my time, man. Like,
yeah.
Sorry, I'm just going to be like real hardcore. Like, I just hate it. That is the definition of being performative, or that's not really true allyship. And I think the theme is, stand up, show up, but pay me, pay me money.
The theme next year is pay me first.
Pay your rent.
Yeah, pay me First Nation.
Pay your rent.
Because our podcast is called Not So PG, why don't we have a Not So PG moment each week? What do you reckon? That's real black. What do you reckon?
I know.
I've been using reckon like often. It just takes me back to my childhood when I used to say use.
Oh, no, that's an ick, babe.
I don't say it anymore. So
use? Did I say it today?
No, I don't. No. I don't ever say it. But when I was a young child, I would sometimes say, "Where are yous going? What do you reckon?"
I'm getting hot. I just need to. Sorry.
Oh, now she's stripping. You're like, I thought use was an ick, not a turn on, babe.
maybe, it's taking me back. No, do you know what? I've got a whole list of icks, which one day we will rattle off.
Oh, love that.
Use is definitely one of them. But let's not judge Matty.
But should we do a Not So PG moment? Do you think that's like a good thing that we can do each week?
Yes, I think that would fit
people?
the podcast, obviously.
Yeah. Well, you tell me what has been a Not So PG moment in your life lately. I know that, you've recently been overseas, your first international work trip. Did you get any
put day? No, I didn't. On my international trip, no.
Not even with the colleague that was super hot?
No, I would have loved to even slightest make the move, but I am about professionalism, unfortunately.
You could have just been like, let's explore Bali and my body. No.
I was tempted. I was so tempted. My not so PG moment is honestly like coming to terms. This might be a little bit invasive, but my friend Courtney and I have come to the agreement that when men have not so hard, you know what I mean?
Yes. Hard feelings?
This is going straight dirty. Like, I'm just telling you.
Yeah. So when they're on the flop.
Yeah, okay, right. That they, expect you to, give them a little, help, and it's not so hard. You know those water snake toys?
What are you talking about?
I'll show you a reference photo.
As in, do you put them in the bath?
No,
and they swim?
okay, so there's these water snake toys and they're kind of like, they fall out of your hand and they like keep falling and they keep falling. You kind of like flip them in your hand.
Oh
and
my
they're
gosh,
so
the
slippery
visualization hurts my brain. Okay, yep.
dead.
So-
But we have come to terms that these water toy things are so what it's like giving hand to a guy that's not hard.
Oh,
And so we
wow.
say water snakes now because, water snakes.
Wow.
Anyways,
Wow,
I'll show
wow,
you
wow.
the reference photo. Here we go.
Oh, it's like an ice pack.
We're getting a reference photo right up.
Wow,
Maddie's-
okay. So it's almost like an ice pack that you can use. Oh.
No, babe, it's slippery.
I've seen those. They look like, if anyone wants to know what they look like, you know those sprinklers that go through the garden with all the little holes in them, that splurt out the water? It's like the rope one. It's like a 30-centimetre version of that.
Yeah.
That's a really good
I'm
description.
dead, but this is not 30 cents. It's just so hard.
Okay.
Anyways, I went on a date. It escalated. A guy, blah, 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 what I'm getting at. And he tried to sort of, ask my moment to
Help him.
But
Yep. You're his assistant in that moment.
Yeah, and then it kind of just gave me the ick and I was like, look, I'm not doing this. See you later.
Look,
Like,
I think
that?
because your brain might go to, why isn't he, is he not attracted to me?
Yeah, right.
Is that where your brain
That's
goes?
where my brain was at. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
I've never had this issue.
Yeah.
Never, honestly.
I've never had a
Reflex.
water snake in my hand, and now I do.
Yeah, so that's my not so PG moment.
Oh, wow. Oh, you know what my
yes.
not so PG moment is? That lately, I don't know what it is, but I've been on this very interesting schedule with work, which is like I'm normally here, there and everywhere, but I've been at the same place doing the same thing for the last 6 weeks because I've been in rehearsals, right? So I think it's affected my sleeping brain. So my sleeping brain has been a little bit wild lately. So I've been having very interesting dreams about people I know that I'm not going to mention on here.
Who is it? Tell me.
No, it hasn't just been one person.
It's many.
And it's not even it's not that it's sexual. It's just that it's odd. And I'm like, why is this happening to my brain? And it's only been happening over the last couple of weeks. So it's my not so PG moment is that I'm having very bizarre dreams about interesting people. And
It's not escalating to wet dreams. It's
no.
just-
It's some of them are a little bit raunchy, but nothing crazy.
Can I ask one person?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Okay. Well, there's one person who is super famous and her name is Zendaya. And I'm
Oh
a gay
my God.
man, and
I've
I'm
had wet dreams
having-
about Zendaya.
and I'm having odd dreams about Zendaya. So, Zendaya, I know you're a big fan of the show, and if you're listening, no offense.
No offense. What do you mean?
Because I don't want her to be offended by the dreams, but I definitely had an interesting dream about Zendaya that we were at a party and that I was making out with her and I wanted to escalate from a makeout to the next base and she pushed my hand away. And I know. How interesting though.
I've also had that same dream, just FYI, but
Of Zendaya?
yeah.
Oh my God, I think most people have. Come
Yeah.
on, she is so beautiful, inside and out.
I would do
and,
naughty things to Zendaya. I would do absolutely naughty things to her.
Well, you know what? I reckon, here I go with, the reckon word.
I was going to say use again.
Your word is journey that you hate and mine is reckon. Whenever I say it, it's just a triggering moment of me when I was pre-Invisalign.
No, guys, fucking Matty has been gorgeous his whole
No,
life.
I will show
Shut
photos.
up.
We will prove it. I look like Franklin the Turtle from the ages of about 12 to about 15.
Babe, I'm doing my Invisalign now. I feel like I'm going back in time. So I feel like, when I put my Invisalign, I'm like everywhere.
Yeah, you're on the
I'm
phone. You're like,
spinning
hey, Maddie,
everywhere."
how are you? No.
Literally. And I've got my lucky band in my mouth and everyone's like, what the hell?
No. It's great. I've done it.
Okay,
It's,
so your
yeah,
not so
it's
PG
awesome.
moment is that you had not quite a wet dream.
No, not a wet
But
dream, but I did have a
you did
naughty dream.
fantasize.
About Zendaya,
About
and I
Zendaya.
think that I've been questioning my life choices ever since. No, I'm kidding. Am I
Am I
gay?
straight? Actually, how do you identify, Maddie? Are you just queer? Are you gay? Are you bi?
You know what?
Pansexual?
It's really interesting because I had a girlfriend, at the end of high school who I really loved and I, did all the things with. I know that I have the ability to love beyond a gender. And I love that about myself. I don't like the idea that I'm just a gay man. It's like I'm someone who is in a gay relationship now, and that's where my focus lies. But like, who knows? Like, if I wasn't in this relationship with a man, I don't know what relationship I would be in,
So what you're trying to say is that if I shot my shot when you and Paulie break up, I would have a chance.
I think there would be more of a chance of us sharing an egg and sperm and creating a wonderful child through IVF.
I would take that offer. I would absolutely love to have your children, have your babies. I literally said that to you maybe the first time I met you, I think. I was like, have my babies. I don't know how much shit we talked today, but I feel like it's kind of giving a glimpse into
But let me tell you something.
What is to come.
I reckon we did a good job.
I reckon we should stand up.
And clap ourselves. Nah, shut up.
Well, that's the end of our episode. I hope you've really enjoyed Maddie and I talking shit for the last however many minutes, and we'll see you on the next episode.
And don't forget that it is NAIDOC week this week. We're going to put a full list of resources that you can access with our podcast, but make sure you don't go inboxing Mob for, free work or...
Do the work.
Or advice. Go and do the work yourselves. It's really empowering once you start to do it.
Yeah. Happy NAIDOC week, guys.
Love yous. Bye.